as a healthcare professional, you are hardwired to not only recommend and guide and nurture and support your patients, but you're also really concerned about their well-being. And in an attempt to make them, help them get to a better place, you may fall into the trap of literally parenting your patients and sort of dictating them on what to do. So your treatment plans, recommendations, whatever the case may be. This more often than not actually backfires. If you treat them like they are, you will never build trust, authority, or respect with them in the long run. There's another way of doing it which will actually help you achieve just that, and that is the principle of accountability. So in this video, I'm going to look into what accountability is and isn't, why it matters as a healthcare professional, and how you can build that with your patients in the long run. Everybody, thank you very much for joining me every week and for your ongoing feedback, comments, and support. My name is Shweta. I'm the founder of Healthy Dynamics. I help, as a coach, I help English as a second language healthcare professionals who work in an native English-speaking country or work with patients who are native English speakers. And whilst they speak, they're reasonably fluent in English, or at least at an intermediate level, they now want to take it to the next level and want to learn how to communicate well with them in order for them to build more trust, collaboration, authority, respect, and influence with them, and ultimately receive glowing testimonials and reviews and feedback from them that will not only retain them in their practice, but also allow more patients to come in via referrals. So, like I mentioned in the very beginning of the video, I wanted to cover the concept of accountability today. And whilst I have mentioned the concept of accountability quite a few times on LinkedIn, what sparked this particular concept in me this time was, if you don't know, I'm actually a part of a support group for people who have mental illnesses, particularly anxiety and depression. And this post is what really got me interested on why accountability is so important. So if you want to pause the video and read that, absolutely. So while this poster talks about the concept of self-accountability, I thought let's sort of invent that and sort of improvise on that and put it into the context of how it matters in the space of healthcare. So let's start off by what accountability is and isn't. So I'm going to start off by clearing up some major myths that people tend to have about accountability. Now, accountability is not scolding, shaming a patient for non-compliance or putting them down or looking down on them in any way. Nor is it blaming patients who are not able to follow through any treatment plans, any support recommendations that you've given to them, talking at your patients and then expecting blind conformity and obedience. Now, when you're approaching accountability using these guidelines, patients really shut down and they feel really judged, small, and powerless, and they feel that they cannot open up to you because you are going to just keep repeating the cycle of disrespecting them. And I'm not saying that you're doing this from a conscious or aware place necessarily. It might just be because of a lot of ESL healthcare professionals. They come from cultures where being authoritative equates being respected, and patients back home from your home country may just do what they've been told simply because you are the healthcare professional, the authority figure, the person who has all the power and knowledge. Whereas when you're working in more international or English-speaking settings, respect doesn't come automatically this way. You can't demand it, you have to earn it and command it through various methods. And I have talked about this in previous videos, or in the sense that are you commanding or demanding respect, so you can check that out. Now, accountability when done wrong turns into like a power struggle and a control method between you and your patients. Whereas what accountability actually is a collaborative effort. It's like when you and your patients are on the same page and you're playing from the same playbook, and also you are on their side and you are cheering each other on. What it involves is having patients understand their role in their own health. So getting them to take responsibility through their actions and behaviors and choices. Giving them ownership over their decisions and outcomes. So if they make a choice to either better their health or do the opposite, it's a choice that they have made and they will face the consequences of that accordingly. And like I mentioned, creating a realistic, collaborative plan that they can stick to, and holding them responsible with compassion, dignity, and transparency, and just being authentic, not criticizing them. So accountability is about collaboration and partnership. You're not a parent telling a child what to do. You are a teammate helping them play their part and working together with them and creating that sense of responsibility and ownership in them that will help them improve their health outcomes ultimately. Now, how does accountability apply to me as an individual? So, as you may know, through the posts I've made on LinkedIn, for many years I was a people pleaser. I avoided tough conversations because I didn't want to upset anyone, and that's how I was brought up as well. I thought being agreeable meant being compliant and silence and just being obedient, basically. But what I learned was when you always say yes, you're not holding other people accountable. You are actually taking on everyone else's problems and burdens onto yourself. And if you remember on LinkedIn, I had mentioned a while ago when me and my partner went away on vacation to a place called Lakes Entrance, and I experienced that real sense of guilt when my partner was paying for everything and I was not keeping up with my routines and habits that I've really gotten used to. And that guilt taught me something. That accountability isn't being perfect all the time, whereas it really involves showing up honestly, doing your part, and not placing the entire burden on somebody else. So you have very clear, designated and defined roles, and you are expected to play that on a consistent basis, consistently average basis. Your patients are exactly the same. If you don't hold them accountable, you will end up being responsible for all of their actions, all of their choices, and all of their decisions. So, which includes their excuses, their guilt, their lack of follow through, and it really takes a toll on you mentally and emotionally, and you get burnt out. So let's look at some examples of how accountability can be put into practice as a healthcare professional for yourself. Now, you can have a situation, so say for example, you can be a geriatrician and you are working with an elderly patient and who doesn't necessarily have dementia, but they are quite stubborn. So you can have the geriatrician might be working with the patient and they just refuse to take their medication. And instead of saying to them that, coming down to them very harshly and saying to them that, if you don't take this medication, you fearmonger them by saying that, the consequences that you're going to have on their health. So what you would do is open up the conversation and look into things like, let's explore what's getting in the way of you not being able to take your medication. Is it the side effects? Are you forgetful? Is it the cost? And set realistic goals on what's one thing you can commit to this week in terms of keeping up with your medication regime. This is just one example. Example two, something that I personally relate to, because I have two family members who are very heavy smokers, and I remember my mother-in-law being one of them, and whenever I take her to her appointments with her GP, he cannot help himself but ask her, bring up her issue of being such a heavy smoker, which is something that she's been doing since the age of 13, and she's been in this for almost 60 years, and she's thriving, and she's still doing extremely well with that, and she'll come up with a lot of excuses and a lot of rebuttals and a lot of pushback on why it doesn't make a difference that in 60 years nothing has happened to her, so she's taking her health for granted. So usually her GP would just say, I can't make you stop, that's not realistic, but I have to inform you of all the risks and support you in cutting down if and when you are ready, and if you want to do it as well. But just so you know that if you don't change this habit of yours, this is the path that you're really going to go down. And the same situation can happen about, say, patients who have very unhealthy diets and very sedentary lives, and they don't want to change anything. Instead of saying you need to eat better and move your body more, you can ask things like, what type of exercise do you actually enjoy, and what kind of alterations or swaps you can make in your diet to include more healthy options. So working together in that situation, you're not taking the full responsibility away from them, but what you're actually doing is guiding, supporting, and ensuring that they hold their end of the bargain or situation. So how can ESL healthcare professionals incorporate this concept of accountability? So number one is you need to use collaborative language. So using phrases such as let's work on or let's look into what feels realistic and doable for you at this point in time. So it shifts the responsibility onto them, but you're also not blaming them in any way. And set very clear expectations. Don't water things down out of fear or sounding too direct, because patients appreciate clarity and honesty even if they don't want to hear it at that point in time. So if you do this, this is what will happen. If you don't do this, this is what will happen. So be very clear, like that smoking example. Be very clear. You're not telling them directly you should stop smoking, but being very honest that, if you continue to smoke, this is how it's going to affect your health, for example. And follow up regularly with your patients without feeling any sort of guilt. So your patients may forget to follow through with you. And that doesn't mean that you just assume that everything is absolutely okay. Reach out to them and ask them how they're getting on, and don't have to do it entirely, but check with them, to see how they're getting on, if you're having any problems, if they're having any challenges, and how you can support them best, and if you need to pivot the plan in some way and alter certain things, definitely make that possible. I remember when I had my surgery last year, and when I was very early on into my rehab and physiotherapy recovery, my physiotherapist did follow up with me a couple of times via the phone just to see how I'm getting on. And it was going extremely well. I did give her some feedback on things where I wanted the exercises to be changed and improved, and she came up with alternative suggestions, so I was able to recover. So this is just an example of how following up with patients is absolutely vital, and you need to do it on a regular and consistent basis. So just to conclude, accountability is not being harsh. It's about honesty, transparency, and you being authentic. And it's giving patients the sense of responsibility and also respecting them at the same time. So when you stop carrying everything for them, you empower your patients and you protect yourself, and when you stop people pleasing. And holding patients accountable is an act of compassion, and it's the best way to build trust, authority, and better outcomes for everybody. Keeping that in mind, I have put together a little guide or cheat sheet, you can say. It's like an accountability framework, and it looks into what are the ways in which you as a healthcare professional, you can follow the system, and how you can hold your patients accountable and do so on a consistent basis. The link for that is in the description box below, as is the links for my communication persona quiz, and for you to book a consultation call with me to discuss any challenges that you might have with your communication at the moment as a healthcare professional, and I can see how I can best support you in the process. To stay more tuned with videos like this one and many others, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and leave the video a like and your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. And as always, thank you very much for your time, attention, and presence. I will see you next week.